banter. Balls and banter. No excuses, just win, win, win with your balls and banter. We got balls, we got pucks, we got sticks, we got everything in between. We got balls and banter.
Welcome to the show, folks. It's Tuesday. I'm Drew Berquist. Hope you had a great weekend. Got the boys, Nate and Tom, with me. Zach is out. Matthew hitting the keys. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Doing well. I'm still a bit under the weather with this nagging cough, and now I've got some kind of like chills and sweat and grossness happening.
Not great. At least you avoided the diarrhea.
Yeah. Well, I think that would have been a plus considering how I feel right now. I think I would take diarrhea over a cough any day.
Okay, fair point. That's a fair point. Nate,
what would you take?
I just don't really want any of them.
I'd take a cough for sure over a diarrhea.
Well, especially when the explosive's in front of it. Like a little bit fine, but then it starts to hurt after you've wiped so many times. I mean, we could go so far with this.
Exactly. You get dehydrated.
Yep, 100%.
What I'm finding with the cough is the continual coughing is giving me a headache to the point where I can't like function. I can't stand up.
Son of a bitch. This is Fauci's fault somehow, some way.
He and Ralph Barrick.
Yeah. Well, Nate, how are you doing, brother?
All right, man. Can't complain.
I love it. Well, let's get into it. Because we got some World Cup champions. It happens Sunday. First, we had the third play. I think, by the way, I know it makes sense. I know why you do it. But they do it in the Olympics. They do it in World Cup where you have the third place game. Which, by the way, that was crazy. What they went up 4-0 within it was wild. There was 10 goals in that game. There was more goals in that game than the entire damn World Cup.
France's goalie did about as well as I could do. I could stand there and watch the ball go in.
Yeah, it felt that way at the beginning. I'm sitting out back. Shocker, you guys, everyone in the audience, and you guys, of course, know my routine. I'm sitting out back, doing some work, watching it, having a cigar, and I'm like, you turn away for 1 second, there's a goal. You turn away for another, it's 2-0. All of a sudden, it's like, holy shit, it's 4-0. Like, what's going on here? And then, France does their thing, scores some goals. It was too much. All that to say, I think it's such a kick in the nuts to have to play in that game. Do a coin toss. Who really cares? Give both of them third place medal. Honestly, who cares? Just you both get medals. You both weren't good enough to get to the big game. Better luck next time. I think that would suck to play in.
Yeah.
It's a money grab. It's a money grab.
Yeah, it is. And look, and I say that I watched it because what else was on it? Well, you had golf on, and I went back and forth, but I watched it. So,
yeah, I mean, to me, it was kind of a way, a nice way to end the weekend. I mean, we had at least I had a fun month of watching, games on at all different times of the day, and to be able to put it to bed for 4 years, I think it was, it was fine to watch it.
Yeah. No, it was. And I enjoyed the whole damn thing. For a few weeks until things start ripping with training camp and we get closer to week 0 for college football, I will be sad. I will miss the World Cup because, I mean, really, we talk about it after football season. Then we talked about how great the spring really can be if you look at it with the right attitude. This is a weird time right here. Like this short little window, it's pretty much just the back half of July, a little bit of early August. But all you've got is MLB, golf, and NASCAR. And I like all of those, but there's nothing super thrilling, and there's no stakes right now.
Nate brought up a good point over the weekend, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Drew. Instead of having the UFL being spring football, what if we had it now leading into the NFL and college football season?
I kind of like that because then the guys who are going into it, finish their fall season. They have some time to rehab their bodies. They get them worked back up. And then their season's not terribly long. It's not nearly as long as the NFL season. So you're ready, rearing to go. And then if you get selected to go to training camp with an NFL team after it, That's great. Yeah, let's make it summer football. Because in the spring, you don't need it. You got March Madness. You got hockey playoffs. You got basketball. You got all these things going on. Yeah, I don't think you need it there. They get drowned out in the period that they do it.
Yeah.
Good call, Nate. I like it. Does anyone have The Rock's number?
I threw it away when he insulted my casserole.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
I threw it away when I saw the trailer for Moana.
It was pretty cute. We took the kids. My littlest wanted to go. You know what's interesting? I agree with some. Like I saw the I looked. The reviews were terrible. I was like, oh man, honey, like I don't know if I want to go see this. I've seen the others. We've seen the first one a gazillion times. And I was looking at the reviews. The reviews were not great. There's a lot of CGI in it, which is like it's live action, but it's a lot of CGI, which makes sense for what the film is. But everyone's, one of the main things was like they didn't change it at all, so it wasn't necessary, which I tend to agree with. Like if you're not going to do anything where it's like full live action, very minimal CGI, at which point you've got a little bit more grace to keep it the same. I don't know. I mean, literally, you're watching the same movie, just with The Rock's face in it instead of him being a character version of Maui. I don't know. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either. You know what is great?
Was it a sequel?
It wasn't what?
It's not a sequel. It's just a remake.
It's literally the same movie as Moana 1.
Oh, boy.
Like, same songs. There might be one or two additional songs, but all the same songs, the same everything. And again, Moana was a great success. I thought it was a cute movie. I liked watching it with my kids. This was just the exact same thing, and I had to spend money on it again to go see it. Like, this is literally the same thing. And we went to the theater that doesn't have a full bar. Like, everyone's got to do that now. Like, you need good food and a good bar. Like, it can be done. It's done in a lot of places. This one just limited wine and beer and trash food. I mean, you like some of the popcorn and some of the normal food. But speaking of something that was good, though, that was not great. I finished, Tom. I don't know, Nate, if you started quarterback. I talked about it last week. We blew through it. Y'all, Baker Mayfield. I mean, the cool thing, if you're a quarterback going into these shows, like, you get so much for the most part, you get so much extra like love and attention and fans out of it. Not as if they needed more. But I love that dude. Watching him in this season, he's far and away my favorite character in season 3 of quarterback. He's just a gamer. I love the piss and vinegar of him on the field, like just the shit talking. It's freaking outstanding.
Yeah, little men tend to talk a lot of shit.
They do, and he is a little dude. He's a little dude, but he's a gamer. And even though, the Bucs ended up, they started off so strong last year, and then they didn't make the playoffs. They ended up having a terrible back half. Some of that falls on the shoulders of the quarterback. Obviously, there's other things that go into it. But even so, like, if you're a teammate, you just want dudes like that in your locker room and on the field, because it's like, I love the shit talking. Some people hate it. I get it. I don't like it in certain environments. But when you're in an athletic environment, the field, the court, the rink, talk some shit. Say stuff that doesn't even make sense. Make words up if you have to. Have a good time with it, and Baker has a good time with it. I think you'll. Tom, have you started yet?
I have not.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. Okay, we were talking World Cup earlier, and then it turned into Moana / quarterback. Really weird. We'll come back. So you have the third place game. Nate's got a brilliant idea to move the UFL forward on the calendar into the summer. We have noted that. We will talk to the UFL about this. And then Sunday, you had it was a tight game. I'd say it was a great game. The World Cup final between Spain and Argentina. Argentina couldn't get shit going in terms of offense. Ended up having to play with 10, later in the game. End up losing in extra time. But But it really was. I mean, I found myself like on the edge of my seat and a little bit stressed out in this game. And I didn't even have a particular team. My wife kept, who are you cheering for? I was like, I don't know. I just want it to be a good game. And it was. And then it was like such a good game and so tight, 0-0 through regulation. Like I found myself stressed out watching it. I was like, I have no allegiance to either of these countries.
Argentina's a bunch of gangsters, man. They came in and they just started manhandling Spain. When I say manhandling, not by the score or, any kind of particular offense.
Physically.
Whatever they did, they were physically on top of Spain at all times. They would run past somebody and give somebody a shove. They would be lining up for a free kick and start shoving and pushing. It started from the very first kick of the ball to the final end, and then even after the game was over with, dudes were getting in fights.
I was gonna say, and then once during the game too, there was a little scuffle, and then there was the one after that FIFA's looking into. You can find it online. I wanted to play the clip. We can't. I mean, if there's any organization I'm not playing a clip of, it's freaking FIFA. Those sons of bitches are crazy. But I will say this: soccer players get a bad rap for being weak, for being whatever they are. They're obviously very talented. The acting and the faking stuff drives me insane. But I did kind of like that there was some shoving and some more physicality in this one. It's like, let's do this. Like, what would an Argentinian gang member do to a Spanish mafia member? What would someone in FIFA let's get a little bit more physical, and they did, which was fun. But Spain wins, so Argentina had a chance to repeat. Would have been the first time since 1962, I think, when Brazil did it. They didn't pull it off. They just couldn't. I mean, literally 0 shots on goal in regulation, right? Wasn't that the stat?
Yeah, hard to win with 0 shots on goal.
It is, and that, I mean, it sucks if you're their goaltender because he made a lot of stops during the game. His save percentage through the roof. Obviously, one gets through, and that's the deciding factor. But he worked his ass off the whole game, Argentina's goaltender. And in the end, it wasn't enough. But it was an entertaining game. Did you guys get together, or did you not since you were sick, Tom?
No, we did. We watched the game. I ordered some hot wings.
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, Argentina is a bunch of trash individuals. Like, at the end, they turned their backs when Spain were getting their trophy. It's like, what are you protesting? There was no controversy there. They did nothing wrong. There was no controversy at all. You're just a bunch of sore losers.
Yeah, they shut you down all game.
It's like I'll never support them or any Argentinian athlete again because of that.
I like it. No, it's a shitty way to do things. You've made it that far. Yeah, and they were. I mean, they were feisty that day. There's no two ways about it. I can't get over the one dude. I don't remember his name. I can't say it anyways. But the 19-year-old from Spain. I mean, that dude's a little baller. Good for him.
He is a baller, and I've got some words of advice to him. When a Kardashian gets into your DMs, ignore it. You do not want to go down that road. You've got a bright career ahead of you. They will wreck you.
Yes, solid advice. Solid advice. There's a lot of things I almost said there. I'm not going to do it. There's a bloodbath going on here in the United States over at ESPN. And real quick, we don't have to put that graphic up, but FIFA earned reportedly over $9 billion from the World Cup, the World Cup as a whole, not just the final or anything like that. Obviously, $9 billion. Like, talk about the rich getting richer, and the powerful mafia-like organization known as FIFA getting more powerful. That's a crazy ass number. Crazy.
Now they just got to find a way to launder all of it.
Exactly. They will. They definitely will. You know, one thing that I say last thing, it's probably not going to be the last thing because every time any of us says that, then something else comes up. But there's a lot of money that went in. Obviously, those tickets so expensive, as Tom would say, and is right. Like, these events, particular events like this, have gotten so expensive that the everyday person can't go there. You've got to be someone like Matt Damon, who is confused as Brad Pitt. You've got to be some of these people to have tickets for these things. I mean, the ticket prices for this game were crazy. But you know what I will say? that soccer gets right, not necessarily a praise to FIFA, just soccer in general. Even though I hate commercialized things and I don't like the sponsor banners and digital walls, they're digital now around the field, and I wouldn't want that in football. I tell you what, other than that gay-ass hydration break shit, it's pretty damn nice not having any commercials other than halftime and, before some of the other stuff. Like, that's a model I can get behind. By the way, there's also, here's I said last thing. Here's already a second thing on my last thing. They're talking about getting rid of the hydration break moving forward because of all the outrage. So that would be good. But I love that there's no commercials. I know it's a different sport. It's a different model, all of that. Let's freaking go. Like, can we at least implement that piece?
Yeah, I agree. I enjoy watching it, without being interrupted. The hydration breaks were silly. I mean, we all knew that it was a money grab, and then for the president of FIFA to come out and said, "Oh, we have scientific studies that say hydration is very key to, the athletes and their performance." It's like, no, it's not. You can get any scientist to come up with any paper to support what it is that you're trying to push. Stop.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. People feeling bad for you, by the way, Tom, for not feeling well in the chat. We all do. We all feel bad for Tom.
Thank you.
Okay. Bloodbath. ESPN. We're going to start with the good. What I will say is good. This sounds mean-spirited, and by all means do take it that way, because I think this guy's a total race-baiting douchebag. But the first domino to fall with these newfound cuts at ESPN, Ryan Clark is out. Bye-bye. He's out. He found out while he was allegedly doing a segment on, I think it was NFL Live, one of the different shows. They all go on all these different shows, and found out during commercial break. Kind of a shitty way to find out. But this guy, this guy is such a D-bag. He makes everything about race. He's always right. Ryan Clark's never been wrong once in his life. I will not miss him one bit. We'll see him somewhere else. I'm not thinking that we get to be, done with him forever. But ESPN, obviously one of the biggest networks on the planet, I will be glad to not see him there. And that's where I stand on it.
Ryan Clark's one of these guys who, when you look back at his story about him getting into the NFL and staying in the NFL, it's a pretty good story, coming from, producing and a television perspective. It's one of those stories that, is worth celebrating. But unfortunately, he decided to go to a different route once he got to ESPN. Instead of, leaning into what got him there, he decided to go off into a different direction, which, for some people, that's their cup of tea. For him, I think he thought it was a slot that he would fit nicely into. But moreover, what I really didn't like about him were the brooches that he would wear on his jacket. And I'm totally into accessorizing, but I do have a rule when it comes to accessories. I will never wear something that my mother would wear, and my mother would wear a brooch, and I'm not going to wear a brooch.
Yeah, not great. Nate, you don't have, like, Tom is big into accessories. You're not like a big accessory guy, are you? Like, I just don't see that being your thing.
No. In fact, when the show's over, I'm going to have to look up what a brooch is.
Is that RC that he had on his lapel?
Okay.
That's a brooch.
And a lapel, for those who don't know, is
it's the little flap of fabric on a blazer.
All right, got you.
You don't need lapels, Nate. You don't need blazers. Tom wears enough of that stuff for all of us. So thankfully we're all good. We're all safe now. But he went kind of the route, like, I don't dispute his story and how we got there and him as a player, any of those things. It's just, my big thing with ESPN as a whole, not just picking on Ryan Clark. And I hope Ryan lands on his feet, by the way. I'm not like cheering for anyone's demise. I just want ESPN and sports as a whole to take some of the bullshit politics and, all this bias and everything and just extract it, take it out of there. We all go to sports for a reason, whether it's watching a show on ESPN, whether it's watching an actual game on ESPN since they have so many licensing deals, or watching it anywhere, and him and Jamel Hill and some of these other folks would just always turn it into something it's not. It's like, let's just talk about what you're talking about. It could be football. It could be whatever. Leave the bullshit politics out of it. Just talk sports, talk ball. That's what we're doing. And he couldn't help himself. So I don't feel particularly bad for that. Nate, maybe you have a different take than Tom and I do, though, because we've picked on Ryan Clark for a long time. Maybe you like the guy.
No, I thought he was all right, but I mean, he did over the years just seem to try to make everything a really hot take.
Yeah.
Just go all in on people sometimes, and there was definitely times he was wrong. And I don't know as what, he ever really owned up to that, and it wasn't necessarily serious things like insulting people's character or anything, but it was just like slamming on someone or whatever. And then it's just like, not really there. It just seemed like, he's looking for a hot take a lot of times, but I didn't hate the guy.
Fair enough. Now, he would say some smart things. That's the thing. It's like he'd get like several weeks of like, okay, that was a decent take. He's not a bad looking dude. He does a pretty good job on a bunch of things. And then it seemed like once a month he had to like create a viral moment where anyone else probably would have gotten fired, and he would just say some shit. It's like, what are you doing? Like, he would go off on Peter Schrager on like, Peter Schrager's like one of the nicest people on the planet. Like,
right.
Leave him alone. Like, this isn't a Biff versus McFly thing. Like, you're just both analysts on ESPN. Like, that's no one's trying to win. They were, but no one's trying to win the conversation. It's just a conversation for entertainment purposes. Anyways, here's some ones I don't love. And again, I'm picking on Ryan. I'm not cheering for anyone to lose their job. I work in conservative media, or I used to, and it's terrible, and we get shit on all the time. So, NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero. I like the guy. He's been around for a long time. If you're trying to remember which one he is, because there's a lot of different insiders, this is him. We'll put him up on the screen. He's going to be let go as a part of these layoffs. He'll land on his feet. I think he's good. I think he's a good communicator when he does his hits. I hate to see I don't know him from Adam. I don't know what he's like off camera with his family, with his friends, but I think he's always been good. And of all the people that you've got on this big ass network, kind of surprised that you're making this cut. Do you guys have a different take?
It's just like, I don't know how many of these guys are insiders and how many are they just the point person.
Right.
Or on camera news on ESPN. And it's also like, who's going to do all this stuff now? Like, who's going to break all the news? Who's going to be, is it just going to be a slimmer cast on NFL Live and stuff now that Ryan Clark's gone? Like, who's going to take their spot? And, we'll see, I guess, if we really needed them.
Yeah.
One of the things I think is lacking in sports journalism is the insider. I'm uncomfortable with the insider and that whole terminology for it, because when you're reporting on sports, you shouldn't be a PR arm for the athletes that you're covering. That's why I still go back to like Wilbon and Kornheiser and writers of that ilk back in the day, where they weren't worried about not getting invited to the parties. They weren't worried about not getting the interview. And I think that in sports and in journalism, we've seen this switch where it's all about being an insider and being more of a PR flack for the people that you're covering. You see this, in Washington politics, and you also see it in sports. And I'm really uncomfortable with it. I don't think it's a good look. And I understand when you have former football players who are analysts and they have an inside track on certain sort of stories that are happening. And I guess, if you have a television reporter who has a specific beat, they're going to be sort of an insider. But this whole sort of cachet of the insider, it just feels gross to me.
Yeah. No, I think you guys are both right, Nate. I think it's a good point. Like, you can be propped up, and then all of a sudden you get propped up and you grow because the network's behind you, whether it's ESPN, NFL Network, whoever. And then your salary gets propped up, and then it's like, oh, we built you, and now you cost us a lot of money. We could make this guy the new you for 1/3 of the cost. Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I think insider is it's a tricky word because we don't know what it is. Like, if you're gonna be an insider, like, go full Diana Rossini, like, sleep with the coach. Like, that's how you get the good information. We don't actually encourage infidelity around these parts, but you really don't see that anymore. Tom, I have maybe not. Maybe you could care less about this, but Karl Ravech also expected to be let go. Dude's been there over 30 years. He's was a Sports Center anchor. He's covered MLB. He's covered college basketball, all sorts of stuff, and he's gone. Bye-bye. See you, Karl.
Again, to me, it's pretty shocking because I look at somebody like him, and he's one of those people that you always expect to be at ESPN. I kind of expected, Dan Patrick to be around forever, but he went his way, and same with a lot of the other on-air people there. So that one, well, I mean, I can't say that I'm too shocked because, Karl was their baseball guy, and no longer having baseball, it's like, okay, what do we do now?
Right.
So, and, I'm sure he's got a pretty fat contract after being there for 33 years. And if you don't have a show, you're kind of, you're in a rough spot.
He's made his money. He's going to be absolutely fine. What's interesting is all this stuff, this is just business too, right? All of this comes, so, I don't know the internal meetings and discussions that have happened there, but you have Ravech gone, Pelissero gone, a bunch of people no one knows about gone, Ryan Clark gone. Those are obviously the bigger ones. Maybe some more dominoes fall, maybe they don't. But it's all happening don't get me wrong, you guys know I like Pat. Like, some people don't love Pat McAfee. Some people love him. I think he's great. I think he's good for the network. I love that he calls out network leadership and that he doesn't give a shit what they think about it. And he's clearly pretty untouchable because he's going to make like over $60 million this year. But it is wild to think about how some of the mindset must be, and other people, you got Paul Feinbaum and his ears trying to raise his money, get more stuff. Both him and his ears, separate entities, two different contracts. You've got all these people trying to fight for money, fight for their jobs. Pat's making a shit ton. Tebow re-signed. I think both those moves make sense. You want both of them there. They're fan favorites. You can use them in a bunch of spots. But kind of wild to think, like, some of these guys make nowhere near what Pat does. Not even in the same galaxy. He's going up. They're going away. Interesting.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I agree with that. If you're building a brand, I guess you can bring in people that are cheaper and put them in so their contracts aren't as fat, as long as you have your two marquees being, Stephen A. Smith and Pat McAfee. So, if you're unloading, if you're facing a salary cap and you're putting people on waivers and then you're bringing in new talent to develop them, I guess that's that's what's on tap for ESPN. But still, the familiarity with the names and their deliveries and how they are on camera, a little bit that's going to be missed. But I think with broadcasting, everything is generational, and eventually your time is up and you get replaced.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Nate?
I think they're just going even more and more top heavy. Like, they did the same thing several years ago. They let a lot of talent go, and then you saw like people doubling up. Like Orlovsky's on like 4 shows, Stephen A. Smith's on 4 shows. I remember once watching one of the morning shows, and like all of a sudden they had Orlovsky talking NBA because he was on there.
Yeah,
and he was like, "I guess I'm gonna speak on NBA now," and everyone laughed. And it's like, yeah, you have to, because they cut everyone else and. Cut costs and things. And it might be the same thing where they become this kind of like corporate laundry machine in a way, where it's just like, you're going to bring up the new interns. They're going to be on camera for a while, and then some of them won't stick and 1 or 2 will. And then once they get bigger, you're going to let them go and just recycle. And it's just all going to be kind of like top heavy. And it's also like, it's a little weird because I don't know. We live in this day and age where you're not going to be able to just cycle people in and out, and everyone's gonna be like, oh, they're an insider now, oh, he's an expert, and it's like they're just the new cheap talent,
right?
Karl Ravech, Schlager, like all these guys, you've spent years kind of building them up and building up their persona as insiders, quote, or just just reliable sources of information. And now you're just going to keep cycling them out, or you're going to have Kendrick Perkins talking hockey, and everyone's going to be like, yeah, I'm not really putting any pennies into this. And it's a little confusing. I don't know, especially to like do that and then double down on McAfee and stuff. Like, I don't know anyone who like watches Pat McAfee's show, and he's there. He's a persona, but like to keep throwing more and more money at him, like he's a network when he does his like podcast and just allows you to like set up the cameras and air it. It's kind of strange. But
well, it's odd to me. Again, I have no problem with Pat. Like I will catch a show every once in a while. I think he's always entertaining on game day, whatever he does. Like, he's a character. Some of that is a persona. Some of it, how much is real, how much persona? I don't know. I don't know the guy, but I just think it's a weird model to like shove all your chips in on a couple people.
Yeah.
When it's like, no, diversification is key here. Not diversification in terms of like demographics, diversification in terms of talent. Like, I'd rather have 10 really good people instead of 2 people that we think are great. By the way, Stephen A. Smith, not great. So like, it's just a weird, it's their business. Do whatever the hell you want. ESPN, Disney, but
I will tell you, I think the big winner in all of this, and I'll get to the point, is Tom Rinaldi. And I say this, one, because I am biased. I think he is one of the best sports. He's on my Mount Rushmore of sports reporters. But a few years back, I believe he saw the writing on the wall. And this guy, ever since I've known him, has always seen what direction a company is going, or what the cultural trends are happening. It positions himself that is not only going to benefit his career, but also keep his longevity going. And to me, he is the big winner in all the shakeups that have happened at ESPN over the last few years.
Tom was doing some stuff for the World Cup, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's everywhere. Dude is there. He's a beast.
Well, the other thing too is like with like any kind of corporate cost like this, it's like, how much were these people making? Like, say they were all making $500,000 and you cut say you cut 8 of them. Okay, that's $4 million. Does that really affect the ESPN/Disney bottom line? Like, no.
Yeah, no.
So it's an interesting move to be like, oh, look at these cost-cutting measures. It's like you're saving a one-time cost of like one person's salary.
Yeah, but also, too, we're not hearing about the producers and associate producers and editors that are being let go as well, and, getting in other people in at a cheaper price. Yeah.
No, that's fair. But even so, even if you plus that way up with some of the support staff that are there, how much does Pelissero, Clark, and Ravech actually really, like, that's like a few minutes of revenue for Disney.
Right, exactly. So it's hard to believe that that's actually going to cut, that it's really for the bottom line, and that this is really cost-cutting measures. Like, now that we cut these 10 people and these 20 producers, like, we're in the green. This is really worth it.
Yeah.
But I also think it gives ESPN cover to say, hey, look, we cut Ravech, and his deal was $4 million over 10 years or whatever it is. And so that's going to justify us getting rid of these 40 people.
Now, here's the thing, and this hasn't been said yet, and, Iger and all the people listening, like, you're clearing some cap space. We are available and willing to do your bidding, even though there's some things that I don't love about the network and some people there. That's true in life, right? Like, you always are going to have some people in your office, your work that you don't like. We will take a reduced rate, very, very hefty still rate, to come to the network. Let's talk. Your people, my people.
Nate's people.
Got to find my hat that says insider.
Yes.
They know I'm qualified for the job.
I mean, you don't have an insider like Nate Williams. I'm just saying, like, you don't have that. Certainly not one with as good of a look. And who's going to do the red carpet as well as Tom Cunningham? Tom's going to outshine everyone on the red carpet. They're going to be grabbing the mic and saying, "What are you wearing?" instead of the other way around at the ESPYs. I don't know. Maybe. Speaking of out of the job, this was a nice little segue. Didn't even think about that. We talked last week about the fact that there was this Michigan investigation going on. Outside law firm brought in to look at the athletic department, see what was going on. Obviously, lots of shenanigans have happened there. And then it was decided a little bit later than I thought. I thought we'd maybe know this by Thursday. But Warde Manuel is out. He will be stepping down at the end of the year, not immediately. So he will make it through this fall, this football season. The calendar year will be the end. The report said no widespread misconduct across the athletic department. The review found that the football program's prominence and organizational structure created oversight challenges and called for stronger leadership oversight, clearer responsibilities, and enhanced reporting relationships and improving compliance processes. So I think this was the right move. And I think that we have a really banger job available for somebody on the market right now. There's very few institutions that come, I'm not saying that because I've got a helmet right here and because I'm a Michigan fan. This is a big-ass job. You know, the Michigan football job, the Michigan basketball job, the Michigan athletic director job comes up. That's a big vacancy. Michigan's got to get this right. I've got my 2 cents on who it should be. It's very biased and comes with attachments. But I think that there are some great people that are out there that could fit this job. And again, I do think that it's the right move. You know, Ward, you've been, whether you were complicit in all the wrong stuff or not, likely you were. Certainly with the Sharon Moore stuff, it seems like you were. There's been lots of scandals. You got to be the AD at Michigan for over 10 years. You made a shit ton of money. Your current contract is, I think, 2.4 a year, something like that. Like, you've done fine. You'll be fine. Go retire, get yourself a box at the big house, and just watch the games in the fall without any responsibility. And now you don't have to go to all the games or send your minions off to the games. Like, I got to go to a softball game or a field hockey game today. No, you just go do whatever you want to do. But it's a big ass job. It's a big opportunity. A lot of pressure too for somebody. But I think this was the predictable path. Now it comes down to, most people don't care as much about the administrative stuff when it comes to sports, but now this is an important job. Now it comes down to who these candidates are. They're going to have to be some pretty impressive folks. What's your thought on this, Tom? Do you know anyone?
Yeah, I might know somebody. What it seems like to me is, since Warde is going to be here to the end of the year, it seems like whoever it is that Michigan wants isn't available until the end of the year. So they're going to be, or they don't. I can't see point. Michigan not wanting to pay Warde, but I feel like it's more. Michigan's got plenty of money to say, "Hey, you're out. We're going to buy your contract and be done with you." Yeah. I feel like that the person that they want is still under contract somewhere.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, because they do. I mean, they've got fuck you money through the roof. They can buy out every coach on every team for every sport they've got in the institution right now, and it's no big deal to them. They don't want to. But that's a strong. I had not thought of that. Once again, proving you're the smarter man.
I don't know about that. That's my initial thought on it. I do know somebody who would fit the bill for that, but unfortunately, they're on vacation in Croatia right now and unable to comment.
Okay, just so long as we understand, if that person gets the job, I am going with. This is a package deal, Ann Arbor. I think
all three of us are moving to Ann Arbor.
I told my wife last night, I was like, look, this is a long shot, but there's a chance that we're moving to A2 this year, baby, and it's going to be beautiful. We'll be having Mr. Spots 3 times a day. You have Mr. Spots 3 times a day. No disrespect to the greatest Philly cheesesteak on any college campus. You'll be dead in weeks. So, 3 times a day is maybe.
I've never heard of this place.
Oh, you got to go. You got to go. Here's what needs to happen, guys. You know what?
There's one at Bowling Green, bro.
No, you can't go to that one. You can. You can. Sorry, no disrespect to the Falcons. You've got to go to the original in Ann Arbor. And I don't know why we hadn't thought of this, but you guys are so close. I'm going to fly up there. We're going to go. I'll take you to the big house. We'll go to a game, and that afternoon, or the day before, whatever, we'll get some Mr. Spots. If for some reason that doesn't happen, Nate, I know you go on some of these journeys. You got to go. It's right off State Street, right on the main drag. It's the size of like this desk. It's tiny, but it's so good. So good. That's all I can think about now. I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. But we should do a game. We should absolutely do a game. It has to be a day. The problem is you guys work. Why do you have to work on Saturday?
I don't know. I ask the Lord that every time I talk to him.
A noon game would work though, right? Like you I don't know. You got to get back to, how far is it to Toledo?
It's an hour, but I start a lot early. Tom might be able to pull it. I wouldn't be able to.
What if we said that you ate Taco Bell and you have explosive diarrhea, but you will be there just a little bit later?
I don't know if they buy it. They're like, he eats so much Taco Bell, he should be immune by now.
He should be, yeah. He's got an Afghan stomach. Speaking of Big Ten schools, Michigan obviously a Big Ten school. We got media days going on now, which is a great sign for humanity because that means that college football is coming back. Praise God. And Pat Narduzzi, who's a coach he's been around. He's coached at Florida as an assistant. He's been in a lot of places as assistant. I know a lot of guys who've actually played under him. Love him. I have a lot of respect for Pat Narduzzi. He's the head coach at Pitt now, has been for a little bit. But he made an interesting comment that I have to disagree with quite vehemently on as it pertains to the Big Ten and the ACC. He said that the ACC is better than the Big Ten. And Tom's laughing in the background. I think everyone should be. This is a pretty laughable claim. And to be clear, I think that the ACC is a good conference. They deserve to be a Power 4 conference. This is not me shitting on the ACC. I'm not going to shit on the Big 12 either. I think they're both great conferences, deserve to be in those conversations. But there is like the group of 6, the first 2 teams in the Power 4, and then the top 2 teams in the Power 4. And everyone knows that is the structure. There will be debates until the end of time about who at any given time, depending on the year, is the top dog of the top 2 between the SEC and the Big Ten. Lately, it's arguably been the Big Ten, but arguably is the key word here. But to say that the ACC is better than the Big Ten, whether they are underrated, the ACC or not, is just like, Pat, what are you doing, bro? Like, this is a dumbass statement to make, especially when you in particular are 1-6 against the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, it would be like me trying to make the argument that Crash Holly is better than Stone Cold Steve Austin.
That's a great reference.
Nate, what do you think? Is that in the ballpark of this statement?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, it's just like you said, you're the Pittsburgh coach. Like, this isn't like the best team in the ACC or something. Like, you're a laughingstock of a football program and have been for a long time, as far as I can remember. So it's like, maybe if you want to throw basketball in there or something and be like,
yeah.
Okay, well, like you know, even though the Big Ten has been way better in basketball lately, it's like, well, you still got Duke, North Carolina, you got this proud history, but like, yeah, in football, it's not even close.
I know, you got to go back to like Hugh Green and Tony Dorsett.
Yeah, Pitt has a rich legacy and tradition. It's just to what both of you are saying. It's just been a minute. It's been a long freaking minute since then that was the case. I mean, if there's a college recruit, Dan Marino is, like, if there's a college recruit coming out, do you want to play for a top tier Big Ten team or a top tier ACC team? You can say some of the top tier ACC teams are obviously worth it. If Clemson calls, Miami calls, Florida State when they're not currently under Norvell. Sorry, Norvell, it's not all your fault, but part of it is, like, there's some schools in there that are awesome. But it's just I mean, literally, I'm surprised it's this close over the last 20 years. And probably some of the wins are on the early end of this, skewing this. Last 20 years, Big Ten versus ACC head-to-head, 58% of the games have gone to the Big Ten, 113 wins to 83 losses, two ties. Pretty similar. It's a little bit more. They're regionally closer. The SEC and the ACC play each other more. SEC has a 64% win percentage against the ACC. Point being, the ACC just is not, particularly as Nate is saying, when it comes to football, they're not as deep, and as such, they can't hang with these other that's what the Big Ten and the SEC do. Like they do football, and then some of them have classes, maybe. Like that's what it is. I think the statement is dumb. I think Pitt's a great school. If you're a kid who can't play at Michigan, Ohio State, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, whatever, most kids can't. Pitt's a hell of an opportunity. If Pitt offers you a scholarship, they got great colors too. Sign, go play, go have fun. But to say that you're better than Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Iowa, Oregon, like you add in Oregon and USC now, stop it. Like that's a dumbass remark that Narduzzi said. You're a good coach. Stupid comment.
Well, it's like you said too, like you're a prospect, and it's like you could go Big Ten or ACC. You're like, well, it'd be nice to be on the beach in Miami, and there's a lot of girls down there, and like everything. You're like, sure, and it's like you're going to Pitt, and it's like he's 1-6 against the Big Ten since taking over in 2015. His only win was against Penn State in 2016, which is like, I think Penn State was going through some issues still back then.
Right.
So it's like,
And still was a shocker. Still shouldn't have happened. Like, it was a wild, like this wouldn't happen if you played again.
right, exactly. So, and including games against West Virginia, in a game against West Virginia in 2022 and 2023, in which they got blown out of the water. Well, I guess they're Big 12, it says here. AI is kind of giving me some mixed results here. Sorry.
Yeah, West Virginia Big 12 now, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but
Yeah. They might have been Big 10 back then.
no, they weren't, because they were
Gotcha, yeah. Well,
what were they originally? They were originally Big East, right? They were originally Big East before the ACC, and then maybe I don't know if they went there or not. Okay, by the way, speaking of the ACC, can we land, this doesn't really matter that much. Can we land on an even number? You're at 17 teams now. You've added 2 that are literally as far away as possible. And then you add SMU, which, that's actually a great ad in terms of they're spending money on football. You get the Dallas market. Like there's some sense to that. Cal, Stanford, I don't know. But having 17 teams, like in college football, in EA Sports college football, I have not done this. I haven't had that much time to even play it. But I almost feel the need to add a team. So, like, can we just get to 18? Or can we cut one out and make it 16? Like, this is the OCD in me. Like, I don't like this.
Well, it sounds like if you're going to have to cut a team, it'd be Pitt. It's like at the bottom of the rung as far as the football goes,
Yeah, especially with the kind of logic that's coming out of there right now. We're better than the Big Ten. Stop it. That's a dumb. Literally, we're at a time. This has not happened in a while, where a lot of people, even in the SEC, can't make that argument. And the SEC is freaking outstanding and legendary. But the numbers don't really lie the last several years. When you look at national championships, you look at the top-ranked teams, you look at the teams in the playoffs, as we're speaking about football. But really, as you said too, Nate, they're killing it in basketball too. So it's just, they've got money. Right now, the Big Ten's got a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Here's something. We got a couple things, and then we'll wrap up. So, there's so many great weekends of college football, and even a terrible weekend of college football is better than every other day of the year. But look at this day on November 7th, the year of our Lord. Oregon, Ohio State, Alabama, LSU, Georgia, Ole Miss, Miami, Notre Dame, BYU, Utah. Here's the thing. Someone in the audience, maybe someone's plural in the audience. You can keep that up for a second, Matthew. Someone is going to get an invitation to a wedding on that day or a child's birthday party. And you need to start thinking of your answer and how you're going to communicate this with your partner or your spouse right now, because there is no world in which you should go anywhere but on your back patio or having your ass sit down on the couch on this day. Like, do not leave the house on that day unless you're going to another friend's house to sit your ass down on his couch.
That is a good lineup.
That's impressive.
Is you wonder if they planned it that way or it just happened?
I don't know. But we don't know by November 7th. You're getting deep into the year what the standings and the polls are going to look like. But the vast majority of those games have conference implications, conference championship implications, and/or college football playoff implications. That we just know from looking at who's on that it would have to be the craziest year ever for several of those games not to have massive implications in terms of the playoff picture. It's gonna be amazing.
I feel like you're getting very giddy just by looking at that graphic.
I am. I'm at this point where it's going to be hard to contain me. There's a whole. I'm coming out of what do the bugs do? They come out of their cocoon. I'm about to blossom.
A butterfly.
Like a butterfly. What's the molting. I'm about to molt. This dead spring, terrible sports season. Skin is coming off, and I'm gonna fly like a butterfly, like a phoenix. A phoenix. I'm gonna be a burning on fire butterfly. A phoenix fly. I don't know what it is, but it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait. Shane Gillis set 2 records. Guinness. I think they were Guinness Book of World Records. We don't have a graphic for this, Matthew, but at Lincoln Financial Field. Good for him. I'll pull up. What did he specifically? They were largest audience for a comedian, 73,946 attendees. That's pretty.
For one person. We're not talking like a band or a guy.
Yeah. Most tickets sold. The second one, most tickets sold for a comedy show by a solo comedian, 77,047 tickets. So almost 3,500, whatever that is, didn't show. But selling out Lincoln Financial Field or selling that many that's pretty damn impressive for a pretty funny dude. Dude is hilarious. Then we got to just talk a couple things on wrestling real quick. And the first one, so everyone starts to see, and I meant to bring in the video and I didn't, but you maybe saw, so there's Fanatics Fest going on in New York every year. All sorts of stuff happens there. By the way, side point, because we're going to dovetail into wrestling with this. They have all these things you can do. And I'm not saying that wrestlers don't do athletic things. I'm not saying wrestlers don't do things that hurt and can get them hurt. They absolutely do. We defend them a lot around these parts. But holy shit, Cody Rhodes, could you be just a little bit of an athlete? It showed him trying to kick a field goal, just place kick. I've never seen something so disappointing in my life.
It was awful. It was so cringy. I couldn't watch. I was like, there's no way. You can't be this uncoordinated.
I don't think I can watch him in WWE anymore. My level of judgment went so far up through the roof that I don't think that I can bring it back down. And I feel bad about it. I do. But it was the most cringy thing ever. I wish we probably could have showed that. I didn't pull it thinking we couldn't. But, I mean, it was the most unathletic thing I think I've ever seen. From someone who's supposed to be at least, not because he's supposed to be a little bit athletic, right? To do some of the stuff. He's kind of a goog when it comes to some of the wrestlers. I mean, he's not like one of the guys that's high flying and doing all this crazy stuff. Wow, that was just so bad.
Right. Well, this gets back to my point that I brought up on previous episodes where we have gone away from the well-rounded athlete. I mean, how many times have we seen guys from other sports, football, basketball, go out and throw a first pitch at a baseball game, and it's like, ooh, what are you doing? Because we've with all the club sports and the traveling teams, everybody, the younger generations are coming up in an environment where if you want to be the best, it's a all year round type proposition for you. So you're not going to learn those skills that the rest of us had, the Generation Xers, where every few months was a specific season that you played. You played football, basketball, baseball. And you just learned how to pick up a ball and a bat or a golf club or a tennis racket. and learn how to play whatever it is. And you know what? I'm not the greatest athlete that has ever lived, but I have to really thank my parents for forcing me to go out and play in all these activities, because there isn't a sport right now that I can't go onto the field or the court and be handed, a piece of equipment and figure it out and not be horrible.
Yeah. And what we saw, look, Cody Rhodes doesn't have to make he doesn't have to make a 35-yard field goal. We're just talking, can you kick it athletically, get it off the ground, get it into the rotation it's supposed to, and make an extra point kind of a thing, like a college extra point or a high school extra point, not the new, NFL extra point. It was just.
Well, he couldn't figure out the timing of it. He couldn't figure out the technique or the timing. He was just walking up to it and just like throwing his right foot at it. Instead of, there's mechanics involved where you take a couple of steps, you plant your left leg, and then you follow through as if you're kicking a soccer ball. So it's obvious he's never kicked a soccer ball in his life.
He's not. You can tell neither one. Nate, we keep cutting you off.
I'm just going to say I'm going to go the opposite route of Tom. I actually am one of the greatest athletes to ever live. and having just watched the video, I was wondering if he's not got some kind of injury, because he runs up to it very ginger and stiff leg. And usually when you kick something, even if you don't know form, you get a little swing on the hips, and he's just very stiff with that hip. And
I don't know, because you watch him wrestling, he doesn't look athletic wrestling either.
Yeah, that's true.
This is going to sound super judgmental. He's one of the biggest faces in WWE. People love him. His music hits and the crowd goes bananas. But he looks unathletic. He looks like someone who wouldn't win an actual fight in real life. He speaks with a lisp, not his fault. That his dad did too. That's just a hereditary thing. But he comes off as this unimpressive athletic. He doesn't come off very manly and athletic. And then that, even if he was injured, there was still he didn't approach the ball as if he was going to sweep through like a soccer ball, which is how you kick a football too. Like Tom was saying, it was what do I do? And then tried to where Tom Dempsey, decades and decades ago, it's stop it. Do you not watch football? Have you not seen any sports? I know you're on the road a lot. I don't know. I'm not trying to shit on him too much. But it was one of the most disappointing things I've ever seen. And that says a lot. But I just care so much about football to have someone my daughters can all throw the football. They can all throw spirals. One of the youngest is 9.
Right. Well, also, too, when you're talking about wrestlers, if we go back to the Attitude Era, which I love going back to, all the wrestlers in the WWF, I would say the great deal of those wrestlers in the WWF and also in the WCW were well-rounded athletes growing up, and you could tell by their ring performances. Even somebody like Bubba Ray Dudley, you could tell that he had a baseline in athletic competition as a young kid. He may not have been the best, but he had the coordination for it. I can tell you right now, without even knowing this for sure, the Stone Cold Steve Austin played sports when he was in school. We all know about The Rock and, his background in sports, and even The Undertaker. All these guys had a baseline to be well-rounded athletes. And I think the further along that we go into the evolution of sport, we're going to see athletes who are just very, very good and proficient at one discipline and lack the coordination and motor skills in other athletic endeavors, which they will never be able to replicate.
Yes, I agree. That's a huge issue. I of course tried to I was trying to pull something up related to this, and I've opened up. Okay, that was a terrible idea. I was gonna say, even Sidney Sweeney is capable of throwing out a good opening pitch. Right. I searched Sidney Sweeney on X and opening pitch, and I just got flooded with a bunch of pictures. Interesting pictures. None of them the pitch. I'm going to turn my focus back to the show. Tom Brady was at Fanatics Fest, and so this clip that I started talking about earlier, he's staring down Logan Paul. They've been beefing actually online. Felt fake for a long while. If you watch wrestling and you watch some of this stuff, it's doesn't make sense. Like Tom for the most part's a class act. Logan is, sensational, bombastic, all those things. But it's like this felt staged. Then you get to Fanatics Fest, and everyone's like, holy shit, they're leaning in, and Tom Brady slaps Logan Paul across the face. They're like, did you see that? It's like, guys, they're clearly setting up a WWE match here.
The work, yeah.
Like, I mean, it was such a work. It was the most. If you don't watch wrestling, I get it. Maybe then it's outrageous and seems crazy. But any of us who've ever, like, not just currently watched wrestling, ever watched wrestling, we're like, okay, so they've signed, like, they're doing something. Tom's, working out in a ring 2 to 3 times a week because this is happening. And then the announcement came out yesterday. Tom Brady's reportedly in talks with WWE, possibly related to his ongoing feud with Logan Paul. You think? Of course he is. Now, I think this is actually kind of interesting and kind of weird. I love Tom. Obviously, Tom, a Michigan guy. First guy I actually met there. Don't know him now. He's given me none of his money or advice or any of that stuff. But good guy. Obviously very successful at everything he does. Logan has built up a huge name. And I will say this, too, for Logan Paul. Logan plays a great character as being a douche. I don't know what he's like in real life. But Logan, unlike some of these other folks who come in and out of WWE for, like, little stints, like, Logan's gone all in, and Logan's gotten jacked, and now Logan travels to, damn near all the events. So he's committed. So I give him props for that. But it's wild that this one was not seen as a setup. And then 2, I think it's going to be interesting. Like, Tom is not what you expect to see in the ring. He's a tall, skinny, lanky dude who's not a supreme athlete. Tom's slow as molasses. Obviously, he's the greatest quarterback to ever play in terms of rings and accolades. But he's not like I'm really curious as a supporter of Tom to see how this plays out, because I don't know. Like, do you guys think he'll be good in the ring?
I mean, Tom's great. Me and him have a lot in common. Our lives have kind of ran parallel paths next to each other, but I don't think it's going to work out great with him going in the ring, But he could just be a manager or something for somebody. Who knows what it's going to lead to.
That's true. Yeah, like maybe he picks someone to fight on his behalf against, I don't know. Also, I mean, Tom does a lot of stuff. I know he's in the off season. He's about to get back into it. Presumably, this would happen at SummerSlam, which happens the first weekend in August. So it's ahead of it's ahead of all the preseason games because the Hall of Fame game's on the 6th. I know that because I have a sickness. But the work leading up to, like, you got to put a lot of work in to do that. Like, you could like or dislike what Jelly Roll did, but like Jelly Roll had to put a lot of work in to do the different bits that he did. Tom would have to do it the same. I don't know. I'm curious. Clearly, he's doing something with WWE. What it is, I don't know. I just don't think he's like a jump off the ropes. I don't know. It just seems like it's going to look a little clunky to me.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I don't see him, doing a, Randy Macho Man Savage, flying elbow drop,
right,
or going through a table or a tombstone pile driver or anything like that. I don't know. I understand that wrestling and pop culture and the fusion that we have between the two of them, and I understand that wrestling is a lot more popular than it once was, but this just kind of it seems out of place for somebody like Tom Brady. And I don't mean to denigrate the product of the WWE, because I think it's great, but I think out of all the types of fusions of different athletes and sports that come together, this one just doesn't seem to fit. It doesn't seem like it goes together. There was more of a fit when Shaq, made his appearance. Even I could see Muhammad Ali, when he was a referee. That seemed to fit. But Tom Brady and the WWE, for me, just doesn't seem like a natural fit. It feels like it's being forced.
Yeah, well, if you were to be like, obviously he's under contract. He's one of the top tight ends in the league. But he loves wrestling. If George Kittle was worked into an angle that makes a ton of sense. The Niners would never go for it because he's an active player on that team. But he's a character, he's an athlete, and I say athlete, like he's like a well-rounded, bouncy, can do more than a lot. I don't know. It is kind of weird. I don't think it's going to go well. And Logan he's a high flyer, does crazy shit. He's a great athlete. It's hard to compare. Tom's going to drag him way down because Logan's going to have to lower the. I don't know. I actually don't love it.
I feel like Phillip Rivers would be a better fit if we're going for the aging quarterback.
Yeah, just an angry dude with an accent who's got a lot of kids. He's got built up anger from having 42 kids in his house.
Feed them. He's got to win the King of the Ring tournament to be able to feed kids.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I like Logan. I like Tom. My initial, without seeing it unfold, my initial sense is this is not a great idea. But
so the bigger question is what's going on with Penta? Is that a work or not? Have you seen this? A streamer named Neon was streaming backstage, and Penta was at catering, and they kind of his guy who's following him turned and then turned back, and Penta didn't have his mask on. He still had the makeup on, and then he was stopped and was like, "Hey, can you not air that?" And he was like, "Oh," yeah. And then he was like, "Oh," you see Penta explained it to him. And he was like, "Oh," and so he come to cut. But with these live streamers, apparently there's people who just record their live stream 24/7. Excuse me. So it got out there, and then Dirty Dom flipped Neon off in the crowd.
I didn't see that. I feel like I saw something with Neon, not that specific bit with Yo Soy Penta, however he does that. But they've gotten into him, and then the I Show Speed. They've gotten into a lot of these streamers. They're really leaning into new audiences for sure.
That's why I can't tell if it's a work or not, because it's
I feel like it's got to be.
It's got to be. And if not, it's WWE's fault. You let a live streamer back there. You're supposed to control your product.
Yeah.
And you just random people walk around
they're so calculated in everything they do. You'll see, I feel like once in a blue moon, something maybe gets let out that wasn't supposed to. But there was a fight after the show. It's no, that fight was filmed and happened after that fight actually didn't even happen after the show. That fight was filmed during the show or before the show or whatever. They're so good at they make some moves that are wrong, but they're so good at controlling the narratives that I would be shocked if it wasn't a work. But
I mean, Neon looked generally like oh shit when Penta was right behind the camera asking him to cut it. He was oh no, he looked genuine, so he might just be a good actor. But also when they were walking up, the camera guy just whoop, whoop, and back. It was almost kind of perfect timing. But at the same time, it makes sense because you're rolling up and there's this wrestler here. So you might be oh.
Was that on Raw last night or was that on?
No, that was a few days ago. I don't know what it was.
There was a Saturday night main event at the Garden.
Oh, yeah.
They brought a ton of people out for that. Man, there was so many people. Karl Anthony Towns chokeslammed Dirty Dom and JD McDonough, a couple people.
Nice.
All right, last thing, and it ties into wrestling. Tom brought up how West Texas State had produced, as an athletic department and program there, all of these legendary old school wrestlers. And we kind of talked about it lightly, but then he sent me this list last week, and it's worth just putting up. This is an AI graphic. If someone is wrong on it, we were speeding through it. Most of it looked right to me, though. We gave it the right data. But I'll read through. We'll just keep that up. You've got Terry Funk and Dory Funk Jr., so hardcore icon, NWA world champion. Dory Funk also NWA world champion. Both of those, they're the Funks. If you're a wrestling person, the Funks are legendary. They've earned their flowers. Stan Hansen, international superstar, especially in Japan. Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. Legendary in the old school WWF days. Lots of other organizations coming up. Ted DiBiase, you can see in the front there with the $1 million belt. We got the $1 million belt on the desk here. Hall of Famer. Tully Blanchard, Four Horsemen member, NWA Hall of Famer. Tito Santana was a former two-time Intercontinental WWF champion, Hall of Famer. Barry Windham. Bruiser Brody. Bobby Duncombe Sr. I'm just going to go through the list here. Kelly Kaninsky. Manny Fernandez, Blackjack Mulligan, who is also a Hall of Famer, the patriarch of the Windham wrestling family. He was the grandfather of Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas, that whole Windham clan. That's a sampling. That's pretty impressive to have all of those people come out. I mean, that's like the patriarchs of the freaking wrestling world there. You'd always brought it up, Tom, and then you sent that list, and then I looked into it some more. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, and to me, it's this class of wrestlers that came out of West Texas State. And keep in mind, most of them went there to play football. I think all of them, except with the exception of Dusty Rhodes, played football there. And before they came onto the scene in the different regions that they were performing in, wrestling was it wasn't that mainstream. It wasn't mainstream at all. It was almost like a carnival sideshow for the most part. It was barely aired on television, and it was very regional. And to me, with this class of athletes that came out, I don't think if it's not for West Texas State, I think it's a few decades before we see the Hulk Hogans, we see the progression of professional wrestling the way that we do. I think a lot has to do with the characters. For some reason, those guys understood characters better than anybody else. Something clicked with them. They each had very distinct characters. When you go from Dusty Rhodes, you go from Terry Funk being the hardcore wild man that he was. Bruiser Brody, another hardcore wild man. And the way that they used the mic, you had wrestlers in the past in the late 60s who were just starting to work the mic. But these guys brought it to a different level, and especially Dusty Rhodes being, the American Dream and the son of a plumber. And I know there's a worker out there who's saving his money to see Dusty Rhodes this weekend. He had this way to connect with the audience, and he's one of those people that gets into a business. Everything makes sense to him. Yeah, and you're able to move with that momentum. And I think once all these guys got in there and went to their different regions and then ended up wrestling each other at different points in their careers, that they were they had built this uncontrollable momentum that was good for championship wrestling from Florida, Georgia championship wrestling, the WWF, the Mid-South wrestling, the Minnesota, was it the APW or whatever that was. And I think these guys, along with your Ric Flairs of the world and your Rick Rudes, it was like the perfect storm of talent that just descended into the world of professional wrestling all at once. And I think the eye of that perfect storm started in West Texas State.
Yeah, no, clearly. I mean, you look at the men on that graphic, it's pretty damn wild. Pretty wild. All right, any alibis from you guys before we get out of here for the day?
All right, sir.
All right. Well, Tom, feel better. Love that Buck shirt.
The fit.
Yeah.
The sweet bastard from Tampa Bay.
I tell you, seeing those uniforms in quarterback when they would wear the all white. My one daughter was like, "You need to calm down." I was like, I really like him. I'll slow down. All right, folks, hit that like button on the way out. So glad you were here. Looking forward to seeing you back here on Thursday. Lots of great things ahead. Football is coming. It's all upon us. There's great stuff ahead. We'll get into a lot more things on Thursday. In the meantime, have yourself a great week. Be safe. Be smart. Be free.
We got balls and banter.